The clutches. Revs are up. Here we go. Gerloff got a good
Great
launch.
start. But it's been a fairly easy race, I would say, for Cameron.
Onto the front straightaway he comes, and Cameron Beaubier will take victory in race number 1 here at Virginia International Raceway. And he does it in commanding style. It's time for the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship. Round 3 of 10 for 2019. It's the Championship of Virginia from Virginia International Raceway. Hello everyone and welcome to the broadcast booth and welcome to Alton, Virginia. I'm Greg White, standing alongside Jason Pridmore, who's won 2 world titles in his motorcycle racing career. Now, this is FS2's continuing coverage of VIR Race 2. Jason? Yesterday, we saw Cameron Beaubier win by 3.5 seconds. Now, teams have had a night to talk about it, go over data. Do you think it's going to happen again today?
Well, it definitely can. Cameron looked on rails yesterday, and I think for the last quarter of that race, there was nobody that was going to touch him. There's some other guys that are going to have something to say about that. We saw Matthew Skoltz lead early. We see Garrett Gerloff continue to chip away, as well as Josh Herron had a problem yesterday as well. So there are some guys there that probably made some changes overnight that'll be closer today.
Well, if you didn't get to see it, let's take a look at Race 1 highlights from yesterday, Jason. It was a good start to the race,
but right off the bat, we see Garrett Gerloff get a great jump. Second pole of his career, second in the last 3 rounds. But Matthew Skoltz had other ideas as they headed off into turn 1. He was able to get up underneath him when we saw him lead his first laps this year as Garrett Gerloff tried to go around the outside of him, and now look at Cameron Beaubier. He was awful racy early, Greg, trying to go underneath both of them. But when they came out of turn 1, it was the same order they crossed the line, and it was Skoltz, Gerloff, and Cameron. Skoltz started to try to pull a brake just a little bit, but he stayed on the brakes just a little bit too long up in the turn 10 area and slid off. He wasn't able to remount, but that opened the door for Cameron to go after his teammate. And as that was going on, Tony Elias was also charging up the inside of JD Beach, who hung on with the crew for quite a while to JD. Tony Elias then went after his teammate Josh Herron. He made the pass up under turn 4. Then at this point, it looked like Elias really had some pace. As he slid up underneath the inside of Garrett Gerloff, you can see just up in front there, Cameron's not that far up the road, but Cameron just kept plugging those lap times away, and towards the end, he got down into the high 24s again during this race, and you can see he had a comfortable margin as he comes onto the front straightaway to collect his 2nd win of the year.
Yeah, and after the race, Tony Elias said that it got a little bit greasy. It was 84 degrees. And the track got a little bit warm. Tires started to move around, but not for this guy, Cameron Beaubier. What a stamp he put on the championship early on. The question today to be answered is, can Yoshimura Suzuki close the gap to Beaubier? Let's take a look at the championship points, because it was 13 coming into the weekend, now 8. So it looks like a 2-horse race at this point with JD Beach 57 adrift, Jason. But we all know that this can change at any time.
Yeah, for sure, because you and I in the past, when we've seen big points gaps, we've thought, uh-oh, what's going to happen here? And then next thing you know, it's closed up. So I think that when you think about what's going on with the championship, there's so many guys on a weekend that can win, and we're going to start seeing some new faces do just that pretty soon, I feel.
Yeah, and every race day in MotoAmerica is something new. All right, we're going to take a break right now, but on the other side, we're going to talk to JD Beach, one of our stars of the sport. So don't go anywhere. Welcome back to our FS2 continuing coverage of the EBC Brakes Superbike Championship, Day 2 from Virginia International Raceway. You know what? This rider right here, JD Beach, our featured profile rider as the Attack Performance Estenson Racing Yamaha. 27 years old from Philpott, Kentucky. 2-time MotoAmerica Supersport champion. This guy, also the 2008 MotoGP Red Bull Rookies Cup World Champion. So we want you to get to know a little bit more about JD Beach. So here he is.
Yeah, the track here is a track that I like a lot, and it's actually one that I've raced every year that since I've been pro. I think the first time I raced here was in 2009, and just kind of took well to the track, and it's been one that I've won a lot here, and I just really enjoy the track here. this track had turn 3, 4, and 5. They're all left-handers, and it all flows good together. And with my background of racing flat track, it kind of helps me a little bit, and I can kind of change my lines up and stuff a little bit. So on a track like this, that's kind of hard to pass on. It's good to be able to make new lines and try and find new places to pass at. After the first 2 rounds, I mean, I'm definitely pumped with how it's gone. I mean, I got a 3rd in my first race, and we've been top 4 and 5 in the rest of them, and it's going better than I thought. But I mean, I'm still really excited about it, and I think there's still more to come, because I mean, I'm still learning a lot every time I get on the bike, and the team's working real hard too. So I don't think we're done yet.
Well, Jason, I think we can agree that JD Beach, one of the greatest guys in the paddock. But what does JD have to do to take the next step and just close the gap and possibly win a race?
Truly one of the best guys, no question. But I think he spent so many years on a 600 that it's going to take him a little bit of time to get the information across to a Superbike team like Richards at Attack Performance and Essence and Racing. It's going to take him a little time to get that knowledge to them of what he's actually trying to feel for, and it's going to take a little bit of changing from him as well. He's very adaptable on anything he rides, and we've already seen him on the podium this year, and we've seen him win a dirt track race, so it's not going to be long before we see him winning a Superbike race.
No question of talent, I think, for JD Beach. It's just a matter of little tweaks. All right, we'll take a break. On the other side of the commercial break, we'll come back as we inch closer and closer to race action in the EBC Brakes Superbike class. Today's coverage is brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the 2019 MotoAmerica Championship. All right, so welcome back to Virginia International Raceway for the EBC Brakes Superbike race number 2. And even if it's dry, even if it's wet, it doesn't make a difference. There is always a selection of tires you have available for you as a racer. And oftentimes, all right, don't let me explain it. Let's listen to Dunlop's Tony Romo explain tire selection.
After every weekend, we'll generate a race report, and we have all the compounds from all the top riders. We know what their the fast lap time, the qualifying time, and then we'll come back to the factory and dissect the tires, do some analysis on tires to make sure that we made the right decision. Last thing we want is something too hard where the race times are slow and we don't have a good race. We want to be able to attack every corner, and MotoAmerica expects that from us too. So our race report is not shared, it's an internal thing, but we do share it with some of the top teams to just help them get along and make better tire decisions. So we'll go from last year and say, this is where we recommend that you're probably going to end up racing. But it's a long time before we get there. The track's got to rubber in. Sometimes we'll start with a softer tire, and as the temperatures go up, we get a little more rubber on the track, we'll migrate to an even softer compound. So we work with the riders that way and just kind of keep an eye on all the riders, and we just see the whole field going to one direction typically.
And Jason, in motorcycle road racing, nothing as important as where the rubber meets the road, more so than any other motorsport that we find.
Guys like Tony are the guys you need to be best friends with, because he's going to teach you a lot, he's going to tell you a lot, they're going to give you the information that you want, that you know that they're going and doing their homework and looking at what things are doing as far as the tires go. So, yeah, for sure. When you hear him talk, you just definitely want to listen.
And part of that tire selection, of course, is rain tires. They're available for riders as well. And when it's declared a wet race, then they have the option of putting these on. All right. Well, you can see riders out on the grid. They're making their way to their spots as we have a rider down on this sighting lap.
Samuel
Trepanier.
Yep, Trepanier.
So the Canadian rider is down on this one. So, yeah, there he goes. Let's take a look at the replay for him.
Maybe, Greg, is it turn 5? No, it's coming down the hill.
Coming down the hill.
Wow.
He was qualified in 13th spot, yeah. So Samuel Trepanier. Let's check in with Hannah, third member of our broadcast team. What's going on down there, Hannah?
Hi, guys.
Hi.
I spoke with race officials, and what's going on right now is what's called Scenario A, where they allow the riders 7 minutes to do some wet sighting laps, take a look at the track, see how the conditions are, and they have to pull through pit lane every single time. Once they come out onto the grid, they have to grid up. They're no longer like to continue around the track and look at it. So some of the guys are here now, and some are still kind of rolling through pit lane to trying to figure out what's going on right now.
Yeah, thank you for that, Hannah, because I've been noticing these guys going through our paddock, and essentially what they're doing, Greg, is they're trying to see, do I flip a coin? What do I do? I mean, these kind of conditions right now are so difficult because there's blue sky around us. The track is pretty wet still, though. We just saw our 600 Super Sport race that was ran in full wet conditions, rain tires all around. Doesn't look like we got any weather coming in. We got 18 laps. How much is the track going to dry? Look at Cameron Beaubier.
All right, so a couple things here. Number one is that by the time we got to the EBC Brakes Superbike practice today, it was dry. It was declared a dry practice. So MotoAmerica, in fairness, when it's wet, if it's going to be a wet race, they've got to give the riders an option of some time to go out and check the track, and that's what's going on right now. So that's that. But additionally, what is it going to be called? A wet race, a dry race? There's a lot riding on that as well. We'll take a break. On the other side, we'll explain more, so stay with us here on FS2. All right, welcome back to Virginia International Raceway. Before the break, I was telling you about if MotoAmerica deems this a wet or a dry race. If it's a wet race, then you basically got to start with what you put on the bike. But let's go back to Super Pole highlights. This happened yesterday, and this set our grid for the race today, Jason.
And this was a crazy Super Bowl that we saw yesterday here at VIR. This is Tony Elias just going out on his first lap out. Gets to turn 5 bike, stops. Not sure why, but Tony now is trying to get that bike back. Goes back out with literally 2.5, 3 minutes to go, Greg. He got back out. You can see the qualifying tire on the back of his bike. Made it 2 or 3 corners, and he was sitting. But this was the big one we couldn't believe. Cameron Beaubier, we don't see him make very many mistakes, but yes, in this Super Pole qualifying yesterday, he made one. He came out of turn 4, got on the gas. As the bike was switching back over, the front hadn't settled. The front just tucked up underneath him. Matthew Schultz did a tremendous job on his Yamalube West R1. He ends up 3rd on the grid. This guy, Cameron Beaubier, even though we saw him tip off, this is him on a race tire earlier, just before he put that qualifying tire on. His time on this lap here, Greg, at 24.1 was going to be good enough to keep him 2nd. But it was Garrett Gerloff coming back from his pole position in Atlanta and then going to Coda. Coming here now, he gets his 2nd pole position of the year. And now we'll see what he can turn that into.
And that's what the front row looks like. Gerloff, Beaubier, and a very, very sore Matthew Schultz on the front row after his big get off yesterday. Let's take a look at the track map, Jason, because this road course here, 2.25 miles in length, built all the way back in 1957, is spectacular. Throws a lot of stuff at you. Here's the Dunlop Track Map.
Yeah, Greg, and as you can see, down into turn 1 will be our primary passing spot off this big, long front straightaway. That kink that they call turn 14 is fast. Brake hard down there into 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are all very fast switchback S's, and you're going down towards turn 7, which is our 2nd primary major passing spot on the track. Goes right uphill along that ridge, 8, 9, 10. Once you get to turn 10, it's a roller coaster back down. 11, 12 are very, very fast, switching back to the right as you come onto that front straightaway.
All right, Jason, well, let's transition right into the Suzuki track hot spots, some places you picked where you think are going to be critical to win a race here.
Critical spots. You got to make sure that you have a bike underneath you that's capable of braking deep. And turn 1 is going to require that. If you have some confidence to get in there, it's going to allow you to get close to your competitors or go past them or underneath them. If you have a good bike that you're leading on, you want to be able to get in there consistently as hard as you can. Then we got turns 4A to 5A. I picked these because these are kind of transitional areas, and in conditions like we have today that are wet, you've got to be really careful how you get through this whole little section on your way down to that bridge that you see that's going to take us up to this spot, Greg. Turn 7. This is a lot steeper than you can see from our drone here. Going up this hill is pretty steep, and then if you look across, you're going to see that big left, right, left, and then there's another right up over the top of that hill, a very fast section of S's that you're going to come out of, and you're going to brake really hard going into turn 10. Now, basically, when you tip in here everything goes away from you. As you can see how steep that hill is. It's off camber. You've got to really make sure that you control apex speed. Once you get through this corner, it's straight down a big hill through turn 11. And then you accelerate all the way out to the edge of the racetrack going down this hill into a very fast section at the exit of that fast left at the bottom, then a big long right that leads you back onto that front straightaway. That's a lap of VIR.
Well, there you go. Who's going to have it? Who will navigate that track the fastest? We're going to find out on the other side of the commercial break. Stay with us as our coverage continues on FS2. Today's coverage is brought to you by EBC Brakes, the official sponsor of the 2019 MotoAmerica Superbike Series. All right, let's get right down to Hannah.
I'm here with Josh Herron. Josh had a mechanical issue yesterday. Unfortunately, you were unable to finish the race. How are the conditions out there right now, and how does that change your strategy and your approach for this afternoon?
Pretty sketchy conditions for sure. I was hoping for rain all day, but looks like we're getting rain/dry. So sketchy for everybody. It'll be interesting to see what tires everybody's deciding to go on. And yeah, hopefully luck's on our side today and we have a good, clean, safe race and pull out a win today.
Thanks, Josh. Best of luck.
All right, Jason. Sketchy is kind of an understatement, no doubt about it. But let's take a look at the starting grid, the entire starting grid, as we have Garrett Gerloff on pole position with Cameron Beaubier in second, and Matthew Skoltz, who is hurting right now, shoulder, Jason. You know a little bit more about that. JD Beach, Jake Lewis, and Josh Herron we just spoke with on row number 2. Then we have Cameron Peterson, Kyle Wyman on that Ducati. Uncharacteristically, Tony Elias, as we saw in the Super Bowl highlights. Then we have David Anthony, Jake Gagne, Max Flinders outside of row number 4. Samuel Trepanay, as we saw, had crashed on the sighting lap. And then Sam Bertorico, number 17 bike, rounding out row number 5. Jason, what Josh Herron was talking about sketchy, why is it sketchy?
Well, it's sketchy because right now there's a decision that you have to make. And, you know, that it's really not a decision, I don't think, with 18-lap race, Greg. When I look at it, I think slicks are the call. I think it's going to dry. Right now, of course, this is me sitting in a booth, so I haven't got to go out and look at the track. You can look out the back of Tony Elias's bike, though. What's on that thing, Greg?
That is a slick Dunlop tire right there.
I think it's slicks, and the reason for it is because you said it this morning, this place notoriously dries pretty quickly. But these conditions are not unlike what we saw a couple years ago. JD Beach went out on conditions exactly like this, if you remember right. He started from pole, he was on reins, and took off a 20-second lead or something on the first lap. But by like lap, 12? He literally didn't have any tires left, and everybody was coming back past. So let's see, Matthew Skoltz on slicks. These first few laps are going to be really, really sketch, really entertaining, really interesting, because you just got to get through them.
All right, let's get down to Hannah, who has our Cycle Gear last-minute report. Hannah?
Bikes are about to take off. I did have a chance to catch up with Matthew Skoltz after yesterday. He had that unfortunate crash. He said his shoulder is really bothering him. He said either way, he's going to give it his best try, but he was hoping for rain because it's maybe a little less physical and it would have been easier on his shoulder. But, you know, either way, I know he's going to give it 110%, and the team gave it 110% to get that bike back together and ready for this race right now. All
right, thanks, Hannah. Right shoulder for Matthew Skoltz, Jason. And in a conversation with him, asking him about, how he uses his body to ride a bike, he said that he's a little bit top-heavy. He uses a lot of his upper body, so it's going to really affect him. On-board camera shot.
Look how dry it is. See how dry it is there?
Yep.
Funny thing is that you can only fit about 2 bikes on those little spots. So that's where the issue is. It's being able to fight for those spots. And let's look here. We got one bike, Greg, stuck on the grid right now. Is that David Anthony's bike?
I think it's Sam Bertorico's bike.
Is it? Yeah, it looks like that's an R1. Yep, that's an R1. So Sam Bertorico's bike getting wheeled off to the side.
That's a bummer for Sam.
That's a bummer. But
all the way out here from Washington.
And I don't think that really, even with the conditions being what they are, I don't really see anybody really taking a chance on wets, because you're going to be good for about maybe 5-6 laps, and then that's going to be it. So it's going to be really just a matter of everybody's going to have to sustain a certain pace early on the conditions, or the conditions that we have, excuse me, and just try to get through the first few laps. it's going to dry. I mean, obviously we got a lot of sun coming down on the track right now.
Scheduled 23 laps in this EBC Brakes Superbike class. And you're getting a good look at the track as well, seeing what they see. Trying to take a look, Jason, out of our commentary position. The wind isn't howling. It's still blowing, but it's not howling like it was.
Right.
But, man, it dries fast here.
It really does.
It's just a matter of what standing water's left. We can see on the front straightaway.
So I just got word right now that Dave Anthony is on wets. So, we're going to see Dave Anthony lead for a few laps. That's my promise.
Is that right?
He's going to lead for a few laps, you know. But the tires are going to get chewed up pretty hard, I think. And I'm hoping as we come around here, it looks like everybody else is on slicks, as tentative as everyone's being. And this is when you really got to trust the guys that you ride around, the guys you trust that you ride with. And here comes everybody. Boy, how conditions change in an hour, huh, Greg? I mean, an hour ago it was just pouring here.
You really got to find that dry line on the front
right?
straightaway.
This is where you kind of hope that you qualified in the middle part of a row, because you're probably going to be on a dry spot.
Kyle Wyman could be on rain tires as well, so there's going to be an assortment of tires.
He did a pretty fast warm-up lap along with Dave Anthony, so I'm wondering if you might be right on that, Greg. I'm looking out our window. It's a little too far for me to tell.
Well, Hannah just gave me some word that she's saying that Kyle's on reins, but let's go. What tires do you have? Who's going to be able to make it to the finish line? Scheduled for 23 laps. Here we go. Garrett Gerloff with a good launch.
Great launch for Garrett Gerloff.
Was that Jake Lewis coming from the second row?
Jake Lewis is just on the outside of the right there. I think it might have been JD
Beach.
JD Beach, yes. So this is where the tip in. Look at Kyle Wyman is on reins. See that Ducati going around?
Wyman's on reins. Anthony's on reins. I heard Max Flinders.
We're going to get to see Ducati lead a race, Greg.
Here we are. So here goes Kyle Wyman leading the way on the brand new Ducati Panigale V4R. Indy Motorsports Ranch KWR team, the number 33. The Ducatisti standing up and cheering right now as Kyle Wyman.
He knows he's got to make hay while the sun is shining right now.
Got to go for it.
He's not liking the sun right this second.
No, he's got to be going for every puddle, every bit of water he can find.
Oh,
Gerloff.
Oh, Josh Herron, too, out of the seat.
Snapping all around. That's just a slick tire trying to find grip.
And see, Dave Anthony didn't make as good a start as he'd have liked. He's trying to go. See, already it's drying so quick. It's almost hard to pass guys in the passing zones on wets because you got to go onto the wet to go by them, and there's enough of a dry line for them to pick from. So right now, Dave Anthony is, what is he, 5th or 6th, Greg? But here's the battle for second. JD Beach goes up underneath Garrett Gerloff as they head into turn 10. So now JD Beach gets himself up into second spot. Garrett Gerloff leading in third. So these guys are coming down the hill. Look, Garrett's searching for the dry spot on the track. And look at how everybody is just fanning out behind them all.
Trying to find
Dave Anthony's
something.
Finally going to go by Josh Herron as Kyle Wyman goes by our commentating booth, already through at a 42.6, and then it's going to be JD and everybody else is going to be coming through here. And really, the front straightaway, Greg, looks partially the most sketchy, probably the most sketchy spot, like right where we're sitting. We see it starting to dry. You can see Dave Anthony is kind of cleared off from the rest of them, but we got a lot of big heavy hitters in this group. Matthew Skoltz, Tony Ilias, Josh Herron's there. So a lot of the guys, you see Cameron Beaubier is there back in this group.
With 18 laps now, it was scheduled for 23, so now they reduced it to 18.
Oh, there goes Cameron Peterson, and it looks like he goes past Cameron Beaubier.
A lot of laps left in this one, though, as Wyman's trying to break as much as he can. It's a matter of how much time can I build until the rain tires become the deficit and the slicks become the benefit.
Yep. There you go. Hey, there's that's Samuel. Yeah, Samuel Trepanier. He crashed on the warm-up lap, comes in, he's got reins on himself. He's just going by all the factory guys now as he heads off into turn 7. So he has got himself up to 5th.
Yep. Out of Montreal, Canada.
But you look at all our championship contenders, kind of, with the exception of Garrett Gerloff and JD Beach, who are up front of all of them. Cameron Peterson goes by Skoltz.
He's on the 45.
Yep.
So that was a close one.
Skoltz fighting back right away.
So Skoltz, number 11, Westby Racing. So it's number 2, Josh Herron on the Yosh bike.
Tony just looked back and saw a whole group of guys that was probably going to get
Lost the
attacked.
spot.
He did. He got attacked by Matthew Skoltz just from that little look back.
This is so crazy. This is so crazy tight right now. Anything could happen, especially with the available grip on the track, as Kyle Wyman has come across the line. So Wyman ticks a 41.839 on the timing and scoring screen as we continue to watch this group battling, trying to find dry track.
Tony gets by Herron. You can still see a lot of water. That's what makes this a little bit sketchy.
And David Anthony, you were talking about, he got clear. He just set the fastest lap of the race at a 41.8. So Wyman sits on a 7-second lead over J.D. Beach and Garrett Gerloff and David Anthony.
And look at this, just riding around the outside. Cameron Peterson doing a great job right now. Sorry, Cameron Beaubier doing a great job as he goes past Herron and Peterson. And now Peterson's tried to go back up underneath Cameron Beaubier.
Way different conditions from yesterday. Our Suzuki weather says 70 degrees, 84 yesterday, and obviously the humidity high as we just had a passing rain shower just an hour ago. The track continues to dry. So Wyman out front.
Matthew Skoltz now. These guys have all got by Josh Herron. Looks like Jake Lewis is trying to go by Herron as well. And he's going to sneak up underneath the number 2 bike. So this train is kind of going forward. They're going to do their best now to try to catch back up to the leading 5 guys. And Matthew Skoltz is going to be the one trying to pull them closer.
Could this be one of those races we look at later on in the season with championship implications?
How about Max Flinders is right off the back of these guys too? Look, there he is. So
Flinders with a rain
doing
front,
a great job.
A rain front and a slick rear.
Got it. Okay.
Interesting choice for Flinders.
Yep.
There he is, Ducatis.
Love seeing it.
Indy Motorsports branch this weekend for Kyle Wyman.
Yep.
I mean, what a job he's doing.
Perfect.
The only
Great
set of
job.
body work, the only bike they have out there on rain tires, taking
Come
a
on,
chance.
Greg.
I'm just saying, he's doing. Listen,
he's doing great.
If you're in the situation now, you're waiting for your new electronics to show up. There's so many great things coming down the pipe for that team. Why not put those rain tires on and get out and get some sponsor exposure?
Here's the problem: 37.3 for J.D. Beach. So on those dry tires, he just was able to click off a 37.3 to Kyle's 41.0.
All right, Hannah's down, working pit lane. What's up, Hannah?
Jake Gagne is pulled into the pits, having some kind of mechanical issue. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, we had just something funky, I think, with the electronics. It worked. The bike was working good on those sighting laps that we did, and then I came to the grid and something was up. So we'll figure it out. It's a bummer. It's a little tricky out there. I think we could have had some fun and had to be patient and see what happens, but that's how it goes. That's racing. So.
Thanks, Jake.
All right, so now the Canadian.
And they caught him already.
They already
Just
caught
like that.
Kyle.
Yep.
So Kyle now moves to second spot for the moment. J.D. Beach, Attack Performance, Estenson Racing, Yamaha in his first season back on a superbike. Here's how it happened, Jason.
This is going to be coming out of turn 7. You can see just taking advantage of that dry line now as Garrett Gerloff has allowed J.D. Beach to kind of be in front of him and pace him along. But Kyle's a bit of a sitting duck on those rain tires as we kind of had suspected, and David Anthony as well. But now J.D. Beach and Garrett Gerloff have a pretty big breakaway, Greg, over everybody else on those slick tires. So I'm just looking back, and I think the first person I'm really going to look at it would be Cameron Peterson, I believe, is the first guy that's going to come across on slicks as well. He has actually moved himself on that Omega Motorsports bike ahead of Matthew Skoltz, Elias, and Jake Lewis.
David Anthony on the Kawasaki as we move back to Cameron Peterson. A lot of changes to that motorcycle. They're trying to find a wet setup. What a great job Cam Peterson, Omega Moto, doing. The South African, who we've seen in the past on a smaller displacement motorcycle in Super Sport some years ago, do really well in mixed conditions. So there's the 45. So 2 South Africans in our frame right now.
Jake Lewis coming forward. He just made a pass on Cameron Beaubier as they headed into turn 4. So Jake Lewis is now trying to come forward. Garrett Gerloff has taken the lead from J.D. Beach. So off camera somewhere, we didn't get to see it. Could this be the day, Greg? Garrett's been just itching to get a race win, and he's looked so good all year. But he has gone through on J.D. Beach.
Heart pounding right now for the Yamaha rider, Garrett Gerloff. Can he go from pole to the race win? J.D. Beach lost that spot. Now searching for more traction. Garrett Gerloff just riding like a man with nothing to lose at this point.
Got to kind of wonder if JD made a mistake because the gap was a lot bigger at the top of the hill than it is now. So I'm wondering if JD got into a corner a little bit hot somewhere, maybe turn 7 or somewhere where maybe he got out, maybe ran a little bit wide, got out on some wet patch and decided, here we go, Greg, we're going to have a look at it. You can see he's ran a little bit wide going into turn 3 is what had happened there. And that's where Garrett was able to make that pass. And look, JD's all over the back of him again now, all over the back of Garrett Gerloff. And he's going to go for the pass, Greg, as they go in turn 4. Look how dry it is there. So Garrett opened up the line, and JD went straight to the dry spot of the track.
So there goes the 95. He takes it over. So Beach, now your leader. Oh, up and out of the saddle for a moment. Dirt track style. JD Beach continues to hold on to the lead as they tail off into turn number 7, and up the hill they go. So Gerloff had it for a moment.
And you can see how tight they are going in there. Look, he ran a little bit wide again. He ran wide, but the thing is, Greg, is you can see how tight they were on the entry to that corner where it's a lot drier. So we're down in the 32s already, 32.7 for these two guys up, 32.7, 32.3, 33.3. The rest of the guys behind Cam Peterson, 34.6, and they're still trying to get by Wyman and David Anthony. They should be through by now.
So somewhere in the neighborhood of about 8 seconds slower than they are normally on a really dry track.
Here you go.
Kyle Wyman being caught by the pack. Cam Peterson eases his way by Wyman, who once again is on rain tires. So he made that selection and he went out to a jackrabbit start, and you can see the difference with that soft rubber. Obviously the heat of the track, and Cam Beaubier trying to get around Kyle.
Couldn't quite make it though, see, so.
And losing tons of time.
And there's, now Jake's gonna have to go by. We saw just now Jake was ahead of Cameron Beaubier at one point.
The Lewis should get a superior drive. He already got by Wyman on that one. As those rain tires, they're deeply grooved, so you don't have as much rubber contacting the road. Plus, it's a very soft compound, so they can get mushy in a hurry.
Awesome ride by Cameron Peterson so far, Greg. Really, really solid effort put in by him and this team as he gets himself into 3rd now. It's the highest we've seen him running, and he's been very steady this year. Just getting the bike, bringing it home, getting solid finishes. These guys have been working really hard.
They made Super Pole this weekend.
Yes, they did.
In an abbreviated 2-day schedule. I was talking to the team, and they said they learned a tremendous amount about how the workflow works to get the tires, get the Dunlop qualifiers, making Super Pole. So it's been an education not only for Peterson, but the team as well this weekend.
And he's showing some real pace on these guys in the beginning part of this lap. Let's see how that continues, because he just ran 34.1. The leaders are in the high 30s now. JD Beach 30.8, Garrett Gerloff 31.5. So he's got almost half a second lead that last time by. And then Cameron's really trying to get these guys and drag them forward as well.
So many different things done between a rain setup and a dry setup with a lot of different riders. Could be a shock change, could be a ride height change, could be front end adjustment. So the question really becomes, what can you do in these conditions to switch back and forth? We have a 1-bike rule, so if it's going to be wet, setting all that stuff up. So riders contending with different setups that they normally wouldn't race with in the dry as well, because if it was going to rain, they didn't really have a lot of time to make any big changes to the motorcycles.
That's right. No, that's exactly right. Cameron Beaubier, he's in deep too, Greg. He's just gone past, so you can tell these guys are getting a lot more confident braking-wise as he just runs right up the back here of Tony Elias, and he's now on his tail, 30.1 for Cameron Beaubier. He's 20 seconds behind the race leader. So I really think that JD Beach and Garrett Gerloff have done a tremendous job opening this race up. It's going to be very difficult to catch those two guys. But these 4 now are in a big scrap for 3rd. You can see Jake Lewis has just kind of lost touch with them off the back there.
If you're just joining us here in our FS2 coverage of MotoAmerica EBC Brakes Superbike class, your eyes do not deceive you. We are on a mixed condition racetrack where there is some water on the track, but these riders we're looking at right now on full slick tires, in normal dry conditions, you would see lap times that are about, at this point, 5 seconds or so faster. But We have 11 laps to go in this one, and the track continues to dry in a hurry, and lap times continue to drop faster and faster. Last time by, the third rider in your screen, number 1, Cameron Beaubier, set the fastest lap of the race. That's already been eclipsed by our race leader, JD Beach and Garrett Gerloff. So 30.1 was the fastest last time by, now 28.6. But we'll see what this group has in them as they come onto the front straightaway now and head towards the line.
Now Tony's close enough to try to do something with Cameron Peterson as they come down the front straightaway. Not quite there, though. So let's see if there's any big, heavy outbraking going on at the end here. Cameron's getting in there nice. Tony's up underneath him now and slides by. Is Cameron going to cut it back underneath him? He can't, so... Oh, yep, he does.
Yep.
Cameron Peterson fighting back. Love seeing it. It's going to do so much for his confidence. He gets himself back into that third spot, and these are guys that he hasn't got a chance to really race with this year. So this is good for him. Elliott's going to go straight to the inside of turn 4. He does. Makes the pass. Cameron is trying to kind of not going to be able to double it back.
There's no room there.
Yeah,
there's no room to fight back without it being a big issue.
Or really dry, right?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And look at Jake Lewis. Jake Lewis is now all of a sudden done 30.1, and what looked like he had fallen off this group, he's trying to get himself back up to this guys as well.
So Yoshimura Suzuki leads the way from Omega Moto in this group. This is the battle for third. So right now, Tony Elias, number 24, in that final spot on the podium. Omega Moto's Cam Peterson from South Africa on the 45, trying to get back by him. Just behind that, number 1, Cameron Beaubier on that Monster Energy Yamaha factory racing machine. Westby Racing Yamaha's number 11 is Matthew Skultz, also from South Africa. And now in the back, M4 X-Star Suzuki's Jake Lewis on the 85.
What a great ride. And this is tremendous stuff from Jake Lewis, too, because Jake Lewis came from so far back as we get a look at our Yamaha and Yost crew having a peek out to see these guys go by on the front straightaway. Cam Peterson's braking really good as he's going to take a shot at Tony Elias as they go down into turn 1.
Cam Peterson just did a Tony Elias on Tony Elias. Outbraked them into 1, able to hold the line. So now Cam Peterson back into third spot. A lot of fight in Peterson right now.
Yes, there is. Good job from him there. And now he's just got this incredible
close
scrap.
the line? You think he's going to close it up?
Should.
4-8. Tony's going for it? No.
That time Cam just kind of let off the brakes. He got out of 3 a little bit better and just stayed committed to running it in there a little bit harder. Oh, Cameron Beaubier goes down.
Holy moly.
Wow.
Cameron Beaubier unexpectedly low sides his number 1 bike.
I got to wonder, Greg, if he was trying to cut back up underneath Tony or do something there. We couldn't see it on our screen. But, yeah, we'll have to have a look. But, again, in the same spot as he did it in the race. In Super Pole, yes, he's trying to get the bike started. Let's have a look here. We can't see it from this angle. And, yeah, he's a little bit far back, but, God, I wonder what happened there.
Maybe lost the rear. You know, the attitude of the bike. Front and the rear, possibly. As you can see, it kind of went into the grass rear forward on that one. And this championship, don't forget, Beaubier only 8 points behind coming into this race than Tony Elias after his win yesterday. Oh, boy. If Beaubier can get that thing going, though, Jason, with the riders we have and the pace, if he can get that bike going, then he will at least try to gather some points. So hopefully that bike's able to go.
Tony has gone back through at the front here.
He has.
Of Cameron Peterson for third. So as I'm looking at the screen, Greg, we're not seeing it right here as we got such a tremendous battle for third place. But JD Beach has gone 27-2 and broke Garrett Gerloff a little bit. He's got a 2.3 second lead. These guys that we are watching right now are 23 seconds behind the battle, behind Gerloff, 26 seconds behind our leader. Jake Lewis now has firmly got past Matthew Skultz. So he again is a guy that has just moved forward over and over in this race. And wouldn't you have kind of expected, I kind of would have thought Tony would maybe get away from these guys a little bit more, but it looks like
it just depends on the setup, Jay. That's the whole thing. You know, the combination wet-dry setup, it's so hard to determine how different they set these motorcycles up. Into 10 went Elias, and he went right to the apex, Jay.
Big commitment. It's a big commitment, really big commitment to do that there, and to go right. And so it lets me know that the water has definitely dispersed a lot more up there as far as that line getting a lot bigger. And see, now that Jake Lewis has gone by Matthew's kind of kicked it into gear and wants to go with these guys too. And we talked to him, didn't we, about his shoulder. He woke up this morning, couldn't lift his arm above kind of shoulder height. Went to the doctor, had them look at him. They laid him on a table, and he said, Jason, basically they popped my shoulder back in. He didn't realize that he had done that yesterday, so he was really hoping for a wet race today.
Jake Lewis on the brakes on Cam Peterson. Doesn't get it done into turn number 1. JD Beach 2.1 seconds ahead of Garrett Gerloff, and then this battle for third as Tony Elias leads the way. Starting to eke his way away from Cam Peterson.
Gerloff has responded, hasn't he? It was 2.3, now it's 2.1, as you say, Greg. So look, Jake Lewis now goes straight to the apex of turn 4, and he gets past Cameron Peterson as they now in the turn 5 area. He wants to go try to see if he can tag on the back of Tony Elias, who had done that a lap or two earlier on Cam up in turn 10. Now Matthew Schultz is going to have to try to figure out a way past Cam Peterson as well.
Great job by the M4 ECSTAR Suzuki rider in his bid to stand on the podium in this EBC Brakes Superbike class. As JD Beach continues to lead the way, Garrett Gerloff, Tony Elias, this is that battle for third spot as Tony looks like he's got some pace, but it's Jake Lewis who's just been on the march. He just keeps marching forward. There's our race leader right now, JD Beach, Attack Performance, Estenson Racing Yamaha. Jason, we had a chance to talk to this guy. It was about 7 days ago when he won his very first American flat track race, and the possibility of winning his very first Superbike race in this one. He said he probably wouldn't even make it to winner's circle.
Wouldn't even know what to do, he said, basically, did he? And look at how the difference in pace it is. These guys, at one point, Kyle Wyman was leading this race at one point. Yeah. And now both him and Dave Anthony are straightening around together back there on rain tires, and they've gone by. But something happened on this particular lap to Garrett Gerloff because he's lost quite a bit of time in that first sector. It only looks like 3/10, but it was 2.2, and now he's getting held up a little bit by back markers. Garrett just didn't get quite a clean enough run through the back markers, but JD has just checked out this lap.
Incredible run. So Garrett Gerloff on that one, it had been 2.1, and when they came by the stripe to start this lap, it had eked out to 2.2. So it's being consistent right now. So JD's going to come across the line ahead of Garrett Gerloff, who we're watching now. There he goes, a 26.502, sorry, 26.335, fastest lap of the race. Gerloff goes 27.5, so he lost about a second going through traffic.
Yeah,
so JD Beach, he's not a Superbike rookie, but he's back in the class since 2010.
And how about these guys? They're not letting Tony get away at all. So now Matthew Schultz has made his way through on Cam Peterson, who is just going to do his best now to go with these guys as quickly as he can. Matthew Schultz trying to go up underneath Jake Lewis now, so he makes it through.
Schultz just putting on a ride. Jason, I talked to Matthew Schultz about this particular ride, and he was like, no, I need to put it on the podium. I've got to pay my team back, and I've got to double down. I said, man, you're talking like a gambler here, buddy. Like I lost all this money, and I got to gamble more to make it back. And he said, that's the way it's going to be. Wow. So can Matthew Schultz pull this off and work his way onto a podium position? He's got a lot of work to do with Tony Elias in front of him. Into turn 7 they go.
Cam Peterson still looking up the inside of Jake Lewis there as they were looking down into turn 7. But all three of these guys are pushing that factory Yoshimura Suzuki rider just in front of them.
It just looks like Schultz is getting more and more comfortable with the pace at this point.
Yep.
All right, top of the hill. This battle still a ways back from the lead. As we know, JD Beach has gone by the stripe, 26.2, so another fastest lap of the race for JD Beach, and now a 4-second gap. So with 4 to go for JD Beach, does he continue to push the issue? For sure we know that the final spot on the podium, which is what we're watching right now, it's hotly contested. You have Tony Elias on the 24, on the Suzuki. Then you have number 11, Matthew Schultz back there. Cam Peterson still trying to fight his way onto a podium spot. And Jake Lewis just in a familiar spot we saw last year. A lot of 5th place finishes for the M4 ECSTAR Suzuki rider.
And he's riding so good too, is Jake. He's riding really, really well.
And off the track, Jake Lewis has had a rough couple of years with deaths in the family,
Yeah.
You know, this would just mean so much to him this time of year, a year later, to be able to put this motorcycle on the podium for his team.
Yeah, and as well as he's still recovering from a
injury.
Broken fibula that he did at the Daytona short track, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I got to wonder, when you're racing behind Tony and you know how good he is in the braking zones, you've got to get creative when you pass him. It's got to be in a spot where maybe he's going to be least expecting it. And I got to think turn 10 is that spot. Here you go. Here's a good look at our leader, Greg. J.D. Beach, just a week or so out of winning his first American Flat Track Series race, leading this one by 4.5 seconds over this guy, Garrett Gerloff, who has really rode superb. Absolutely great in this race.
Both those leaders, J.D. Beach, Garrett Gerloff, this would be their very first EBC Brakes Superbike race win of their careers. And what a story it would be if J.D. Beach could pull this one off. Through lap traffic, just riders everywhere. As our 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th place riders fanned out 4 wide heading into turn number 1. Cam Peterson taking advantage and now moves himself into 5th spot ahead of Jake Lewis.
And that is simply just, you could just get distracted as you see Tony Elliott look over his shoulder. He saw that big gold bike right behind him, Matthew Skoltz.
Did. Skoltz, though, does he have the shoulder? That's really the question. Does he have the shoulder to really put all the G-forces into the front end of his Yamaha and make a clean, aggressive pass on Tony Elias? Tony's strong suit. Boy, he's really going to have to grit his teeth. He's got to run into 7. Is he going to try to go to the apex? So there goes Skoltz. He's got the line. Tony had to check up. He's out in no man's land.
That's what you got to do, Greg. It's exactly what he had to do there. So Matthew's got to get a really clean run across the ridge. Try to get on this front straightaway with about half a second lead if he can, so that Tony can't fight back into turn 1. And I think Matthew has definitely shown a little bit of pace here, but Tony always seems to have something left in the tank, always, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. Adrenaline and Advil right now for the number 11 rider.
No doubt.
He's not feeling any pain at the moment. And it really comes down to how much strength does he have to hold off the Scud missile, Tony Elias, number 24. Here they come on the front straightaway. Lap traffic getting out of the way. Looks like Max Flinders possibly doing a good move. Max with that rain front, I'm sure that thing is giving up at this point.
That probably is done at this point. Look at Tony. He's having a look. This is where Matthew, if Matthew could start to try to brake tighter and make it to where Tony has to come up with another move. And here we go with a lap and a half to go. J.D. Beach just ran 26.3. Garrett Gerloff ran the fastest lap of the race at a 26.275. But J.D., when he comes by this next time through, and look how good the bike looks, Greg. It looks really solid underneath him, sliding it like he wants to, into turn 10, coming down the hill now.
J.D. Beach, the 2008 MotoGP Red Bull Rookies Cup world champion, found himself just a couple years later on a Kawasaki team with Eric Bostrom, who decided after the first race to retire. JD was on a 600. They then put him on a superbike. It didn't go the way he planned. Then he spent years and years on a 600. Now with an opportunity on this Attack Performance Estenson Racing superbike to come in this class. And JD Beach, who's already had 1 podium finish in the first race, unexpectedly a 3rd place finish, goes to American Flat Track, wins his first Twin Cup Premier Class race just 7 days ago. Now in a position on this final lap of competition here at Virginia International Raceway, a quarter of the way through the lap already. Can J.D. Beach close it and make it 2 first-time class wins in just a week's time? What a story that would be.
Got to get over to the right, Matt.
Continues to rage.
Got to get over to the right, Matthew. You cannot open the door and let that guy through. And we see it time and time. Tony's just going to go right to the curbing there and go right to the inside. You've got to close the door on the last couple laps when you know that Tony Elias is behind you.
So 3rd place to Tony Elias at the moment. Does Matthew Skoltz have anything in the tank to throw a shot at the Demon Breaker? Tony Elias, number 24. They've broken away, so it's going to be up to these two to decide who will be the final on the podium.
The problem is you watch Tony, he'll go over to the right now and stay there. He'll just move over to the right, and it's going to make it really hard, so you can't go back underneath him because he closes the door. And I think that a lot of these guys that race against Matthew can see it.
Here comes J.D. Beach across the line, and he will take his first EBC Brakes Superbike victory here at Virginia International Raceway. What a run. Garrett Gerloff in second spot from pole position in crazy conditions. And here's that battle for third. Matthew Skoltz tried to do something, but he runs wide. And now it's clear sailing for the number 24. Tony Elias down the hill through turn 13 they come. Tony on the Yoshimura Suzuki with Cameron Beaubier out of this one. Tony Elias will put the maximum amount of points he can and finish third and collect 16 points for his effort over his championship rival Beaubier. What a race in crazy conditions all day.
This guy is going to be so pumped for JD. What a great couple of weeks. Good couple of weeks for JD. Goes and wins American Flat Track in Arizona. Comes to VIR. Probably this is what he's always wanted to do, isn't it?
Unbelievable. Privateer victory for JD Beach becomes the fourth different winner we've had so far this season in 6 short races. We've talked about it, Jason Pridmore, from the beginning of the season, way before the season started. The depth of talent in the EBC Brakes Superbike class is unbelievable.
Yeah.
The depth of teams, of know-how, of getting these motorcycles prepared and working with their team. Richard Stamboli in attack performance once again proves what an incredible effort they can put in, and even in these conditions. What a performance, what a ride.
So
what a
cool.
ride on slick tires JD Beach had. What risks he was taking at the beginning of this race. He lost the lead to Garrett Gerloff right around the midway point. And now an emotional JD Beach
Taking his time. Taking his time on this one for sure.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's just, and if you get to know JD a little bit, he's just such an incredible guy. He's so fun to talk to. Loves to have a good time. Trains so hard all the time. All he wants to do is be on a motorcycle all of the time. And he's with a guy, let's be fair, got to give Richard Stamboli and that whole crew gigantic props, because they work just as hard. When he's off doing his training, those guys are busting their butts as well, and just continuously figuring out a way to put a better bike underneath him.
You are witnessing one of the most talented American motorcycle racers to ever get on a motorcycle. You're talking, I mean, I don't even know how many years it's been, if it's even been done. Last weekend, won in flat track the premier class.
Gave
and
Yamaha
now,
their first win there in 40
years.
Yep.
Comes here on a completely different motorcycle, different discipline, obviously. It's a Yamaha.
Yep.
And now wins an EBC Brakes Superbike race. Incredible. I'm not even sure I'd be going that fast.
Yeah, no doubt. There's Kyle Wyman early there. Took a gamble, as you would. You know, Kyle didn't have anything to lose. Take a gamble and see what he can get out of it. Him and Dave Anthony fought the whole way across, both on rain tires. Here's Tony. Tony's going to be probably pretty happy with this third place today, all in all. He's going to get some points in the championship, isn't he?
Yeah, he definitely is. Like I said, that third place gives him 16 points. So in terms of his closest championship rival, which was Tony Elias, had 8 points ahead of Cameron Beaubier. Now he's got 13 on top of that. All right, we're going to take a break. On the other side, we're going to come back and hear from this guy, JD Beach, who won his first. Today's coverage has been brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the 2019 MotoAmerica Championship. Well, there it is, victory circle, Parc Ferme. Everyone excited and thrilled for the victory of this guy, JD Beach. Oh, there's a guy who's won a few Superbike races
Still
in
in
his
his
day.
leathers. What's Hayes still doing in his leathers?
I don't know.
Maybe
Josh Hayes? That was Josh Hayes, by the way.
Might have just thought about putting that 600 out there or something. There's not going to be anybody in the paddock that's not going to be beyond happy to see this guy win.
I tell you, there's one guy sitting at home right now. I'm sure he wishes he was here, Roger Hayden.
So there's Hayden Gillum also in his leathers. So those guys must have just got their press conference. But these two, I saw JD actually stop Hayden when Hayden was on his way in for the winter circle to try to get some track condition updates. And, yeah, just great job.
So we heard, I heard earlier on in the week, JD Beach on a podcast, a racing podcast, talk about what it might be like to do the double, I guess you could say, in terms of his career and the wins he had, and what it would be like if he was able to stand on top of the box here in EBC Brakes Superbike class. It'll be interesting to see if he gets on a podcast next week and talks about it once it settles in for this guy. But incredible race for the Attack Performance, Estenson Racing. And these guys right here, huge fans, JD Beach. And of course, you want to hear from him as Hannah wants to hear from him. And I know that he's made his way over to Hannah as she gets ready, Jason. I mean, the impact on this one is absolutely incredible. The series, 4 different race winners here in only 6 races.
Crazy.
It's absolutely phenomenal. I think also the tale of this story could be in the championship, what Tony Elias was able to do in this race. But let's get to Hannah, who has our VIR race number 2 champion.
Now, I was lucky enough to be there with you last weekend, and I thought I had never seen you any happier than when you won your first Pro Grand National until now. Tell us what it's like to be able to kind of switch gears like that and find success in both sports.
Man, I don't even got any words. I'm so damn happy right now. I mean, God, I feel so good. I mean, to get the Superbike win. I mean, last weekend was awesome, but oh my God, this is amazing. I mean, I've been working hard for this, and I mean, I just won my shot and attack, and Estenson just believed in me and gave me the bike to ride. And oh man, this feels so good. I just gotta thank the whole team, and they've been busting their butt. And I mean, everybody back home, my family. I mean, God, this feels so damn good.
We're so happy for you, JD. Congratulations.
Obviously very emotional for JD Beach.
Makes
Jason,
me emotional.
Of course it does.
So stoked for that guy. I mean,
yeah, if you have a heart, I mean.
Yeah, when you see how hard this guy works and you know what he puts into this, I mean, this is his thing. And Estenson, cannot thank those guys enough for jumping on board and being part of our MotoAmerica championship to bring him along with Attack. Perfect pairing. You know, when you got a good team behind you and a good sponsor behind you, and you got a tremendous rider, this is what can happen.
All right, let's get down to our second place finisher, Garrett Gerloff, who put on quite a show himself.
Garrett, you were pushing really hard to try and stay with JD there. Still a podium finish, but you seem a little bit disappointed. What's going on?
Yeah, man, I'm bummed. Like, you know, our team works so hard, and we deserve to be the top Yamaha, man. And I'm just so sick of being so close and not getting it. And, you know,
That's all right. A very frustrated Garrett Gerloff. Guys.
And make no mistake, I think, Jason, once Garrett Gerloff flicks the switch and he finds that one little thing,
it's going to happen.
There could be domination from him. We've seen him do it on a 600 just a couple years ago.
And right now what he's feeling is, hey, I got away from Tony and Cameron, and I put in all that effort at the beginning, and I took the big risks with JD. I'm on the factory team. I should be winning. Make no mistake about it, that Attack Performance Yamaha is amazing motorcycle. Garrett has nothing to hang his head for. He got a big pile of points today on the guys that he's going to be challenging for the championship. And when he wins, he's going to continue to win.
And you just saw the spectrum of passion in this sport. All right, let's get back down to Hannah, who has our third place finisher and championship points leader, Tony Elias.
Tony, we saw another great battle out of you today, starting from that 9th spot, working your way forward. Those guys were really putting some pressure on you at the end there. How were you able to hold on for a podium finish?
Well, honestly, I didn't think about all that group behind me. Since the first corner, I just wanted to make a good start, pass the first corner, stay on the bike, and that was my goal. Finish this race, take some points. I felt pretty comfortable all the race. When I saw Cameron right there in front of me, I said, okay, we are in a good position. Let's be smart. Let's think in what we have to think, not in win this race. That's another battle. At the end, I passed him. I knew he was there, but then the team gave me the advice he was out. So I just wanted to finish the race, but at the end, I was thinking 3 more or 3 less, it's important. So I felt comfortable. I did it. I'm very happy. My team did an amazing job. The bike was incredible. Always start from P9 is. It's difficult, but I think today and yesterday we did a great job. We saved very important points and we're in a good position.
Congratulations. Thank you so much, Tony.
All right, so far in 6 races, Jason, Tony Elias, 6 podium appearances.
Yeah, and you know what? I was wondering, and I meant to ask you this during the call there on our race call. I was wondering if maybe he was getting a sign from the team that Cameron would be out. I mean, I know we're only at round 3.
Yeah, but
when you know that the main guy that you're kind of battling with, as you can see here, that was the last lap. Matthew Skoltz took a shot down in turn 10 and just ran wide. That was a spot where Matthew tipped off yesterday, so he did take a shot at Tony on that last lap, but wasn't quite able to get it done.
And the points difference, I think what Tony was alluding to is 3rd place is 16, 4th place is 13. So that 3 points that he was talking about, we've seen championships decided by less in MotoAmerica competition. Well, there you go. We've heard from those top 3, but our coverage continues at Virginia International Raceway as we have our post-race action going on for the EBC Brakes race number 2. And wow, what a win we saw. All right, we're going to take a break. On the other side, more coverage coming at you, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Winner's Circle at Virginia International Raceway as the EBC Brakes Superbike class has wrapped up for the weekend, and time for JD Beach to celebrate on top of the podium. Let me say that again. Time for JD Beach to celebrate on top of the podium. Didn't think we were going to have that as early as we are in the season, but so happy to be able to say that, Jason. Let's take a look at some race results here because this is something definitely to take a picture of, JD, and post it up on the Instagram. JD Beach, 3.7 seconds over Garrett Gerloff, and then that incredible battle between Elias Skoltz, Jake Lewis, Cam Peterson, right there in the mix. I thought a great ride for him.
Really good ride.
Josh Herron in 7th spot. Max Flinders grabs a bunch of points in 8th. And then we have David Anthony. Well, we had a lot of stories in this one, including a jackrabbit start from someone who made a tire choice, took a big gamble. He's with Hannah right now.
I've got Kyle Wyman here. Kyle, obviously, it was a huge risk to go out on rains like that, but you did put the Ducati out front for a short while. Tell us about it.
Yeah, honestly, I knew it wasn't going to work. We kind of just ran out of time. We were going to put a fresh rain after doing those few warm-up laps, and I had to put my head down, see what I could get away with, and I think I grew the gap for 2 laps, and then it shrunk from then on. So, you know, I just I did what I could to put the Indy Motorsports Ranch Ducati up front. I was searching for rain clouds out there, hoping maybe there was a chance of some rain coming down and helping us out, but I'm really excited to be here and racing this Ducati, bringing it to MotoAmerica. We're going testing in a couple weeks with the new electronics. We've got some help from Italy, and you know, we're through these first 3 rounds with a basically stock motorcycle, and I cannot wait until this thing's sorted out. So stoked.
Thanks, Kyle. We'll see you at Road America.
All right, so what's going to happen is Ducati's going to send an engineer over here from Italy that's going to help get these electronics dialed in. They're going to do it at pit race coming up here, and I don't remember exactly what day but it's coming up really soon. It's before Road America, so you could see a massive transition in this Ducati.
Can't win, you might as well get some TV time. You can kind of see his grin there when he's saying, I knew it wasn't going to work, but he knew he could lead a few laps. Good on you, Kyle.
All right, so here's a massive change. The number 24, Tony Elias, with 24 over Cameron Beaubier. JD Beach still holds on to 3rd in the standings, but he closes that gap a little bit. He had 57 now. He is back there. You have Kyle Wyman in 10th spot, Max Flinders in 11th, and on through the field. So I think the big thing right now is, Tony Elias with a 24-point gap. It's going to be a very interesting season to see the dogged determination of Cameron Beaubier the rest of the way.
Some things changed last year at Road America, though, if you remember. So
they did.
For all of you up there in Wisconsin and Illinois and all that, that's probably Ryder favorite track on the series.
Mm-hmm.
Get your tickets now because I think there's going to be some good fireworks, especially now we got this guy winning races.
JD Beach takes us to commercial break as he waves to the crowd after his historic win in the EBC Brakes Superbike class. We have more on the other side of this one. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to FS2's post-race coverage here at the EBC Brakes Superbike class, VIR. We want to get right down to Hannah because she's going to give Garrett Gerloff another go at his post-race interview. Hannah?
Emotions run high sometimes in racing. Garrett, tell us about your race.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys know that, we give everything to this. So, yeah, sorry for the emotions earlier. But no, I'm happy to be on the podium. Don't get me wrong. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But, man, it's hard to be so close. And I've been so close a few times. And just to let it slip through my fingers again just sucks, So, I got an awesome bike. I got an awesome crew behind me. We're so much better off this year than we were last year. And we're making good choices, good decisions as a team. And I wouldn't want to be anywhere else, but I really just want to give these guys what they deserve, all the sponsors behind the team, everybody that supports me. They deserve to be on top, and we definitely deserve to be the #1 Yamaha. So that's just really what hit me, but it's all good. So I just gotta thank everybody again: Yamaha Extended Services, Yamaha Financial Services, Yamalu, Monster Energy, the whole Yamaha crew, everybody that's behind them, HSC helmets, Cortec leathers, CD boots, everybody that's behind me, and just gotta give all the glory to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Thank you.
Thanks, Garrett.
All right, Jason, so sometimes you just need a moment to gather yourself, and I totally get it. He wants to be the #1 Yamaha. They're putting in the work. The bike's so much better than it was last year for him. He's riding so much better as he gets used to the Superbike. It's tough.
Well, the thing is, you got to remember, he's raced a lot with JD Beach, and they've been teammates and all that kind of thing, and they're both fighting for their first win. And then to see JD so emotional and getting his first win, and then Garrett has to get right up after that and talk. I'm sure he wanted to be that person today, but that's the smile that I'm used to seeing in Garrett, and his future is going to be really bright. He's going to be winning these races before long.
And that's the thing about this class. It just seems like there's so many riders that have the possibility of winning at any given time. And the conditions were right for Garrett Gerloff. I thought, he thought that it was the perfect conditions to win, like you're saying, all the rest of those riders behind him, but it just didn't pan out for him today. But there's still a lot of racing left in the season. But you know what, Jason, for Cameron Beaubier, big opportunity missed as we take a look at what happened with Cam in this race. He was there, but then he wasn't.
Yeah, he was there, and he fell over he just lost the rear, Greg, in turn 5 there. Very strange crash, actually. And for him to have that happen and to give those points back to Tony, but it's such a long season. And when we're talking about guys that are capable of winning, you got Matthew Skoltz and Garrett that are going to be 2. And let's not forget Jake Lewis. He rode really hard today and got up there. But for Cameron Beaubier today, he fell in the same place twice on the weekend, and the second one cost him a bunch of points.
I think really the big story, the takeaway from this race weekend, Jason, has to be Tony Elias and his points lead heading into Road America. He's a tough one to beat. Last year was a totally different story because we went to Road America. Dunlop introduced this brand new big rear tire. Tony had been dominating the first 3 rounds. But now we don't have that. We know what we're getting when we head to Road America this time.
And we saw a lot of fireworks there last year. And, we haven't really seen a lot of the big fireworks kick off as far as guys battling or beating on each other. But we might see it at Road America.
That's what we're in for, Elkhart Lake. June 1st here on FS2. Well, thank you so much for joining our coverage. We loved bringing it to you. For Jason and Hannah, I'm Greg. You don't want to miss any moments here on FS2, so make sure you put us in your calendar to watch MotoAmerica as we continue this in a couple weeks. Thanks for watching.